All right, here's kind of a fun one. JD wants to know, what will the earth be like technologically speaking after the tribulation period has ended and the beginning of the millennial reign of Christ begins? Will the earth be back to basics for a while because of the destruction that occurs during the tribulation? Will the world have electricity? Question marks. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, no, yes. You know what I do? I don't know. This is what I do know. The Bible says, and you're already aware of it. I can tell by the answer, by the question that you asked. The Bible talks about the fact that all the mountains will fall down. So you have worldwide geologic upheaval. You've had a couple of situations at the very least where it looks like nuclear weapons of mass destruction have been given out or been used. And so you have Babylon that's been destroyed, and the smoke of its torment goes up into the heavens, and people stand afar off because of that. Earlier on, you have the destruction of the armies that come against Israel in Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. It looks like it may be nuclear in that instance because of the way that they bury the bodies. And so nuclear war, World War III has taken place. You have in two different instances, it talks about all the high mountains have fallen down, all the islands are gone. And so again, geologic upheaval. You have, if you take Revelation chapter 8 seriously, you have an asteroid impact or a cometary impact on one of the oceans specifically. If you take some of the passages in Isaiah seriously, it talks about the earth is split open, the earth is violently broken, the earth reels to and fro like a drunkard. And so again, geologic upheaval that takes place. In Isaiah chapter 2, it talks about all the cities, all the towers, all the high towers of men are knocked down. And so, whenever I read those passages, I'm thinking of places like New York City or, Dubai or, any of the major metropolitan areas. All of these things are going to be knocked down. And so there's going to be a general upheaval that's going to be taking place. It looks like when the kings of the East come to fight in the Battle of Armageddon, that they're specifically riding on horses.
Okay, I was just going to ask you
They're on
that.
horseback.
Do you think that that's a term that could be used as a future technological statement for a different form, or do you think
No.
it's a horse?
It's because it's in Greek, and the word in Greek is horse.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it's not in Hebrew. The word for horse is leaper, and that word can be translated as it is translated in the Old Testament as a bird, specifically swallows. And so the word for horse in Hebrew is leaper, and at the time that the King James was translated, a leaper that a soldier rode would have been a horse. Obviously not a swallow, it's not a bird. And but at the time of the tribulation, a leaper that a soldier may ride could be a helicopter.
Right.
It could be a personnel carrier. It could be a transport plane. There are a number of things that could be spoken about there. But when you get to the New Testament and it talks about them coming on horseback, it looks like it's horses. And so the reason that you would do that is because there's no infrastructure, no roadways, and it's not that we don't have tanks and that kind of thing that can't go cross country, but it looks like that the geologic issues that have taken place are so over the top that it may preclude the idea that you could even use those anymore. There may literally be rifts in the earth. At that point, that's what it looks like in other arenas in the Bible. So I think it's going to be pretty messed up. Isaiah chapter 66 at the end of the chapter, there's a section there that talks about the people of the earth all streaming towards Israel, and they're coming on carts and they're coming on horses. It's like they're coming any way that they can get there, and you don't see them using mechanized means to get to Israel. And so I think it's going to be last day stuff, end of day stuff.
That's like I Am Legend time. You can't drive through a city that's knocked down. You got to get your horse.
Right, yeah. And so, that's what it looks like. As to whether or not there'll be electricity, I don't even know that.
Okay, you can tell I've thought about this before.
Yeah.
So you have all those statements, all the argument you just laid out, World War III, mass destruction, mass death, all that stuff. But then at the same time, you have no one can buy or sell without taking the mark. And so a cashless society, to me, says technology stuff is up and running for them to track stuff. And then you have the abomination and desolation that the whole world sees, which means people are on their cell phones or TV can see it. So there's
when we're talking about this destruction, the main destruction that you have on the planet happens after that point.
Okay, so all those can take
Second
place
half of
before the major stuff.
Right. Second half of the tribulation is when all the gnarly stuff comes down.
Gotcha.
And when you're talking about specifically the Battle of Armageddon, that's right before the coming of Jesus. And it looks like in that battle, two cities are taken out. One is Babylon, the other one's Damascus. And so those are cities that are on the way to the land of Israel from the point of view of somebody coming from the Far East. And so it looks like the kings of the East may take out Babylon at that point. It would be a rebuilt Babylon, but a Babylon at that point, and then take out Damascus on the way down to Israel to meet up with the Antichrist. And so, obviously they still have weaponry.
Yeah.
Weaponry that can take out a city. And so they still have that. One of the other things with this is that one of the major fears that a lot of people in military arenas are worried about is EMP.
Right.
And so what that's about is you take a nuclear weapon and you shoot it up into space, a couple of 100 miles above the Earth. And what it does is it gives out an electromagnetic pulse that interacts with the atmosphere, and it causes an overload of electronic circuits. And so it's something that they found after they started doing tests on nuclear weapons. And if you did that, for example, I just read a couple of books on this. They were fiction books, but they were based on reality, on the reality of the technology. If you did this, if you shot off a couple of nukes over the United States, you could literally take out all the electrical infrastructure of the United States, everything, cars, everything. Nothing would run,
Right.
and you would have no electricity. And the estimates would be that within a year, 90% of the population of the United States would be dead.
Yeah, because you go back 100, 150 years with no infrastructure to stabilize it.
Right. And when you're talking about a global market, there's a lot of stuff, and we found this out during COVID. We couldn't even get masks. Right. Because we don't make them in the United States anymore.
The supply chain is fragile.
Yeah, and so when you're talking about medicines and that kind of thing, when you're talking about antibacterial type of medicines and
fertilizer,
that kind of stuff, these things are made in other countries now. And even if they were made in the United States, they're made in certain areas in the United States, and once you take down the infrastructure, you don't have a way to ship it.
Yep.
Because at that point, nothing's working. And so trains, nothing would be working.
All the chips for the cars that were on the lots for months and months.
Yep. And there would be no chips.
Right.
All the chips in those cars would be fried.
Right.
At that point. And so, if you want to take over a country, it would be better to shoot off an EMP than to nuke it. Because if you nuke it, you've got fallout. You got to deal with waiting for radiation to dissipate and that kind of thing. You can sterilize the land that you're trying to take over, and instead you do an EMP, wait for people to die, and you just come in and you just take it over. And so I have no doubt that you're going to have, it's guys writing novels are not the only ones who know these things, And so I have no doubt that you have militaries planning this, and so. Yeah, it's Mad Max times is what it looks like it would be. You're going to have famines in various places. Quarter of the earth is going to be killed right off the bat. It's going to be awful. So, but after Jesus comes back, there's a remaking of the earth, and that's spoken about in Isaiah chapter 65, 64, 65, and there's a remaking of the earth because it needs to be remade. Oceans are going to be dead by the time that Jesus comes back, and he's going to revive the oceans, and because there's going to be fishing, the Bible teaches, and so I don't know what the technological situation is going to be. I do know that it's going to be better than what we've got. So
You should still learn how to ride your horse, though, because we're coming back with the Lord. And
on
it
horses.
says the blood's going to be up to the horse's bridle. Jesus on a horse, and we're coming to make war with him, at the second coming, or Armageddon. And so you're not getting out of this.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to play a part.
And the armies in heaven, clothed in fine linen, white and clean, followed him on white horses.
There you go.